Alright guys, there's the pistons. Just a quick, oh shit, after just a quick run through with the little abrasive brush. This. If we're doing it wrong, then you come build the engine for us, but we're just gonna send it. They feel fine, feels like, it don't feel like nothing, not messed up or anything. They just look a lot better. And now we're just gonna wait for that third coat of primer to dry to start laying down some paint. Alright guys, this is the block after the paint. There's how it's looking. If you ask me, it's looking pretty good. It's looking way better than when we painted it at first. The front, the side, and the back. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Now what's next is to take these cam bearings out. We already have the cam bearings. Just that we need the tool. We already ordered it. We need the tool to take these on and reinstall them. And then after that, we're gonna do a hone. As you can see with the little gun, I slipped a little and came in here, but there's no, you can't feel anything, so it doesn't really matter because we're gonna hone them out. The hone gets here on Monday. So yeah, block's looking pretty good and excited. Alright guys, we're gonna start doing the honing on the cylinders. If you haven't seen already the paint, I'm not sure I've shown it or not, but there it is. So we're gonna start doing the honing. You're gonna go at a slow pace, up and down, 45-degree angle. We'll explain it more once we start. But here's just a little before. Very little cross hatching. Very little, if not any. There's some for when I slipped with the fucking thing that was cleaning the surfaces. But yeah, we'll show you guys when we start. Alright guys, this is it after honing. It looks pretty good if you ask me. As you see, mostly 45-degree cross hatching. This is something we should have truly done the first time, but we didn't. And you can see right there, a little scar. I guess that's from us pulling the piston out and the rod hitting. But it's all good, everything looks good. Now we're just gonna hit it with WD and carry on.
All right guys, so we got our cam bearing tool. As you can see, these bearings are shot. We made the mistake of
Checking them?
Of looking at them. I'm pretty sure if I wouldn't have looked at them, they would have been fine, but slipped up and looked at them, so we're gonna replace them.
Oh, I forgot about this.
Oh shit.
Hold on, let me take the cam out.
But yeah, we're gonna do it. You need a special tool. This is I got this tool from Summit Racing, and it's specifically designed for these bearings. You see what I mean? Like they'll knock these shits out easy. And the top wheel comes out, like the one that takes the bearing out. Damn, that motherfucker's threaded in there.
Why are you gonna take it out?
It's just a show. They just say we're upside down. You put it in, and what people were doing in the videos that we saw, they put it all the way to the back, and then they attached it, and then they hit the bearing, and they went one by one, as opposed to keep taking the shit out. At least that's how I saw it. But we're gonna figure out how we're gonna do ours, just to make it easier. But I think it might be easier if we just go straight in. You know what I mean? But we'll see. But we're gonna start doing it right now. I think we're gonna start with the first one. We're gonna do a test run, and then we'll show you guys how we did them, just because we don't want to show you guys and then fuck something up.
Alright guys, here's the first cam bearing. It's out. As you can see, if we would not have looked at them, we would have been fine. But since we looked at them, there's all that copper showing and those ticks. And then there's that the oil galley. Now we're gonna show you guys how we take out the second one. So let me just put this one on the floor. Alright guys, to get you a better angle, here you go. Here's the front of the cam bearing tool. Put it in. Put it up against the second one. Get this little guide. Put it right there. And then with a dead blow or whatever of your choice, just blow that bitch in there. Alright, so you're gonna take the tool out and hold the bearing. There goes the tool. And then you take the bearing out from the bottom. There's the second bearing. It's all messed up as well.
Alright guys, so today we're finally installing our cam bearings in. Just the other day we removed them all. We're gonna be installing them now. We finally got our different set of cam bearings in. I don't know if my brother mentioned it, but the first set that we got in, they came in all fucked up. So I ordered another set through Summer Racing, and these ones came out all right. I think there was one that looked a little bit weird, but for the most part they all look fine. So we're just gonna get our stuff ready, and then we're gonna start putting it together.
All right, guys, here are the cam bearings. There's the part number, and then here's the positions how you gotta put them in. Each cam bearing has a certain number on the side. You'll see it, and this means like, oh, this is bearing number 1 starting from the crank, bearing number 5 starting from the rear main seal, 2, 4, and then 3. And here they are. They look pretty good. So what we're gonna do next is put number 5 in. But before you install them, it's recommended that you put assembly lube on the outside of each one, and then you drive it in with the bearing tool.
Alright guys, so we got done installing our cam bearings in. As you can see, they look all nice and clean. We did have a little hiccup on one of them. I guess we just sent it too hard. I don't know if you can see like how it's warped.
It's self-tapered basically.
Yeah, it tapered the fuck out of itself. I guess we just didn't have the tool lined up properly, and it just fucked this shit up right here. So we had to get one from the bad set of bearings that we got from Amazon. Like I said, I don't know if my brother showed you guys, but they were like chewed up on the side a little bit, and the one that we put for number 2 was a little bit chewed up on the side, but not as bad as the other one, because 2 and 4 are the same bearing, but the other bearing on the other side was pretty bad, and this one was the best one. You know, the best worst one, if that makes sense. So you just put that one in, and then we're just gonna send it, dude. Like, I mean, I feel like that's better than having rough ass copper, but someone might beg to differ. But,
oh shit! Be lying under my hat. All right.
But someone might beg to differ, but I feel like it's fine. Right now we're gonna put our cam in with some assembly lube. We're gonna just spin it over like 20 times, and if we don't feel any roughness, we're gonna call it good. But yeah, guys, one thing we recommend you guys do is blow out all the holes. We just got some compressed air just because we don't have an air compressor, so we blew out all the holes and everything, and then we checked it with this Allen key. Just make sure you clean it. Of course, anything with a hook, it could be a pick itself or an Allen key that's tiny enough, and you see I can move it around, that means it's lined up. And right now he'll show you right now that if you look down all the bearings, you'll be able to see them all lined up. Like,
I'm gonna zoom in.
Like where the little holes at are all the same pretty much, besides that last one. But the last one, they line up perfectly, and we were able to check it just fine. But as you can see, they're all pretty much in the same direction, and it looks good. I'm happy we take care of this. The only thing we're worried about is number 2, but hopefully that one's fine. And I'll be able to sleep better at night. We change these out, and I won't have to be pulling the motor out just for cam bearings, because I feel like that's a big waste of time. But we got it knocked out, and we're just gonna install our cam right now, right quick.
But what I would recommend, if you still have your old cam, I would recommend you put your old cam with a lot of assembly lube and just spin that bitch in there. If you don't like us and you're just gonna send it with some $15 cam, then just do it. But yeah, we're gonna put some assembly lube on the cam that we ran in the motor, and see if it spins or not. That's how we'll know if we did this correctly, or we should have just sent it to a shop to do it. All right, guys, here it is. We got the cam in. Cam went in pretty good. If the bearings weren't lined up, your cam wouldn't go in at all. As you can see, cam spins. And of course, you want to put assembly lube on your cam. Make sure you lube up your cam. Don't fucking put it in dry with new bearings. But then we took our water pump bearings, our water pump bolts, and spun it in there, and it's good. Now we're just gonna put our cam retainer plate in there and just keep it in there, keep the cam in there for now. All right, guys, I'm about to start doing the main bearings. As you can see, we already have that cam in there. Next is the mains. Here's everything you'll need. Obviously, you'll need your crank. We're gonna do plastic gauge, some scissors to cut the plastic gauge, torque wrench, 10 mil, 13 mil, and 15 mil, all the main caps, all the main bolts, and then the side bolts. I just use some Candor just to clean off the crank and stuff. Some sort of oil. I'm just using this to put on the threads right here, and then put on the bottom right here, because there's gonna be friction on them. And then the actual main bearings, here they are. Some clevites. Here's the part number. There it is. Here's how they are. I'll open it for you. Hard with one hand. Here's how they look. So yeah, I'm gonna show you guys how to install them, how to use the plastic gauge and everything. It is my first rodeo, so don't judge me too bad on it, but shit, I'll try it. Alright guys, what I went ahead and did is cleaned all the main bearings. There they are. The way they go is that the ones with the little oiler holes, as you can see, obviously will go on the block. Alright, let me show you this one. Watch, you'll see the cleat line, and on the other side, it should say upper. Upper, and then STD as in standard. And then these ones will say lower. Lower, so these will go on the main caps. So what I'm gonna do right now, after I clean them, I'm gonna dust these off, and then I'm gonna put them into the block. These go in how you want. Just make sure you line up the little divot with it on the block right here. So this one will go in like that. And then obviously the thrust one, as you can see, the little divot right up here. And then the divot goes, where does it go? Right here. You can see the thrust one should be in the middle. From what I've heard, on the earlier Chevy stuff, the thrust one's on the back, but on this is a 3rd gen block, so the thrust is in the middle. Here it is. Obviously, should say upper. There you go. And then STD for standard size. I'll leave the part number for the bearings that we used in the description. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put these in. You wanna put them in dry, no lube, anything. Make sure everything's cleaned and there's no lint anywhere. All right, there you go. About a minute later, all my upper main bearings are in. The only one that I did struggle with a little bit was the thrust bearing. But what I did to get it in there was just use a little mallet and hit it in a little bit with the bottom. But you want to make sure these are flush on both sides. This one I gotta hit down a little more on this side. Let's see if I can do it. Go. Make sure they're flush. And then from here, what we have to do is clean out the cranks, where the main bearings go, right here. Here, right here, right here, right here, and then over here. Clean those off. Make sure there's no lint, and then drop the crank in. I want to make sure the crank's in to where none of the oil values are showing too much, because we are going to put plastic gauge, and you obviously don't want plastic gauge in your oil gallons. So I'm going to drop it in. Make sure when you drop it in, you don't spin it. And after you do the plastic gauge, you don't spin it either. So right now, I'm gonna just go ahead and drop it in, and then show you guys when I have it lined up, and then we'll go from there. All right, I got the crank in there. As you can see, most of the areas, you can't see the oil passageway or oil valley, whatever you want to call it. Next, what I'm gonna go ahead and do is put the upper bearings, the lower bearings on the main caps, as I showed you, lower. I'll put them on and then show you guys what to do after. All right, guys, I got the bearings in. There they are. Next, what I'm gonna do is put the plastic gauge. Here it is. You can get it from Summit. Put the plastic gauge on where the main bearing caps are gonna go. And then after that, put the main bearings on. Obviously, the main bearing caps on. So what I'm gonna do, I'll go ahead and do right now. Take out the wax that's inside, and then cut it to length for each main. and put it in, and I'll show you guys when I'm done with that. All right, guys, you can see I got the plastic gauge in there, and every little port. What I'm gonna do next is put the main caps in, starting from 1, 2, 3, 4, and then obviously 5. Thrust bearing on number 3. But you put them in, and then you use a mallet, the bottom end of a mallet, smash it in, not too hard though, and then you drive in you put in the bolts, place all the bolts in, and then drive them in. I'll go ahead and show you guys while I'm in the process of doing that so you understand more. But yeah. Alright guys, I got all the caps in. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 on that side. As you can see, all the wings are facing towards the rear main seal from 1 through 4, and then the wings on number 5 are facing the crank. So from there, what I'm gonna do, show you guys. Let me get the camera set up so I can show you guys. From that last clip, what I'm gonna do is take all the bolts, as you can see. Take a little bit of engine oil. Just put it on the threads, and then put it on the bottom because there's gonna be friction there.
Let's go ahead and do that to all of them.
Alright guys, there they are. The bolts are in. Next what I'm gonna do is hit down the main caps with the bottom end of a mallet on the middle, just so they can come down a little bit. And then I'm gonna run down all the bolts in the torque order with the speed wrench. A lot of people say that you shouldn't use an impact, and I've seen a lot of people use it, but for the sake of it, I'm just gonna use the speed wrench, and then tying them the way they're torqued. So I'm gonna do the middle ones first, these two first, and then boom, 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 and then the outer ones next. And then I'm gonna torque them down from there and show you guys that. Alright guys, here's the next day, and take this as a lesson to always use the proper tools even when you don't want to. We were trying to bypass the torque in angle, and I try to convert it to foot-pounds. These two at 65, they did fine. I took that one to 65, did fine, and then when I got to this one, I heard a little pop, and I was like, fuck. I took it out and it came out fine, but it was a little bent. So I put it back in with the speed wrench, and as I was trying to tighten it with the speed wrench, I heard bah, and then there it fucking snapped, and it left the stud inside, but luckily it wasn't tight, so I got it out. And well, yeah, just take that as a lesson to use the proper tools. Now we're just gonna re-plastic gauge. You can see the plastic gauge, and then plastic gauge. And we're gonna tighten these down and go from there. All right, guys, we got the bolts in, main caps in, and then the plastic gauge under. What you gotta do next is run down all the bolts, and then torque the middle ones down to 15 foot-pounds, and then if I'm not mistaken, 80 degrees, and then you move to the outside ones, 15 foot-pounds, and then 51 degrees, and then you got to do them in an order from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and then you could zap the side ones on if you want to. We're not going to, but you can if you want to. Those are 18 foot-pounds in a line like that. And then take them off and check your clearances. All right, guys, here's what I meant by proper tools. This is a digital angle reader, as you can see. I'll show you guys how we use it. But after you run down your bolts, we ran down all of them. Then what you want to do is go on the proper torque sequence and run down the inners at 15 foot-pounds and then 80 degrees. And then after you do that, you run down the outside ones at 15 foot-pounds and torque them to 51 degrees. And then after that, you could either zip in the side ones and do them to 18 degrees or 18 foot-pounds, or take all these bolts on and check your plastic gauge. All right, here it is, guys, how we're doing it. 80 degrees. We got a ratchet. You could use a ratchet or breaker bar. You see we got the angle sort of matched up. the ratchet in the 0 point. Now we want the ratchet facing this way like this. And I'll show you how he does it. Go. And then about right there is where he's gonna end. And that should be torqued to around 80 degrees. So now we're gonna go around and do all the inners, and then I'll show you guys how we do the outers next. All right, guys, we torqued everything down to 80 degrees on the inners. Now we're gonna do the outers at 15.
So you gotta do that on 15. 15.
Next, what we're gonna do is take the ratchet and go to 51 degrees. So I'll show you guys how to do that next. All right, here's the 51 degrees, and then the outers, go. As you can see, the ratchet goes to about 51 degrees. So now we just got one more to go, and then we're gonna zip off these caps.
All right, so we measured our bearing clearances, and they're at I believe this is 1,000, right? In some areas, like for example, like right there, that's 1,000. I think this one's like 1,500. The fucking plastic gauge fell off the front one, so we're just gonna do the same. The one that sticks out, the two that stick out are these ones. So it's bigger than 1,500. I mean 1,000, but I don't know, actually, yeah, it's like a slightly bigger than 1,000 on number 4 and number 5 as well. So yeah, it's like slightly bigger,
but factory is about shit. How much?
I forgot. If we remember, we'll put it in the video. But
it's less than 1,000 up to less than 1,000, like 0.85 thou or some shit like that, up to 2.5 thou, which is right here.
As you guys can tell, we're professional engine builders. So no, but on a serious note, I believe we're fine. So I think if you have more clearance, you know, your bearings, you're fine. You know, as long as you know nothing ridiculous where it's completely out of whack. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of consistent. You know, where it got bigger as we went towards the back, but I think we'll be straight like that. But if you guys see any reason for concern, put your concerns in the comments, and then we'll read it over. It's our first time building a bottom end on a car, on the engine, so we're obviously not gonna know everything. So any tips and tricks will help us, but forgive us if we're saying the numbers wrong. You know what I mean? It's, like I said, it's our first time, but let us know if we should be concerned with this, or if we're okay to send it. It looks fine to us, but you never know once it comes to making high horsepower. But I'm pretty sure we'll be straight. No real reason to have any concern, but we won't know until we turn on the car, or if one of you guys says what we're doing is completely wrong. The only reason we're doing plastic gauge is because we're too broke to do it properly with like the dial bore gauge and measuring all your clearances. But that's another build down the line. This is just a budget friendly build, but we'll see how it goes.
What we're gonna do next is clean all the plastic gauge off the caps and the crank with the brake clean. And then what you gotta do after that is lift your crank out, lube up your bearings, lube up your upper bearings and then your lower bearings on the caps, and then you could drop your crank in and torque it in the same way it came out. All right, guys. After you guys take out your crank, you clean your bearings. You just put a little bit of brake clean in your oil holes, and now you got to put some assembly lube on your actual upper bearings.
See metal?
Yeah. There's never too much assembly lube, so do as much as you would like. We're gonna do some, maybe even put some on the cam, and then go from there, and then put some on the uppers. Clean the uppers, put some on the uppers. Clean the lowers, put some on the lowers, and then put them in.
Got a spray.
Alright guys, after you have your middle ones, after you have your crank in with assembly lube, and you can spin in no plastic gauge, because you can't spin your crank with plastic gauge. You torque down the middle ones to 15 foot-pounds, and that's it. Make sure all these out here are loose. Let me make sure that right now that one's tight. Make sure they're all loose, And then after you make sure they are loose, you're gonna set your thrust bearing. So what you're gonna want to your thrust. So what you're gonna do is hit it with the rubber mallet twice in the front and twice in the back as best as possible as you can. And then you can use a little digital gauge tool in the front. But we've read that usually an LS never gets out of its thrust clearances. So we're just gonna fucking send it and just hit it backwards twice and forward twice, and then torque everything down from there. Alright guys, here's the side bolts. You can tell they're fucking yellow, but from factory, if you're using these new, then they'll come with a sealant on them from factory. But if you're using them like us, and I heard you can use these 2 times in a row, so I'm gonna use them, you gotta put some black RTV on the like where the bolt head goes, and then you can run them in, and these are torqued down to 18 foot-pounds. Alright guys, here it is. Crank is in, spins freely. There's our little message. How long did it last this time, and then the month and the year. But here it is. It spins fine. It spins like a beaut. So we're gonna call it a night. But next, what we're gonna do is gap those piston rings, and then after that, we're gonna pop in those pistons and then go from there. All right, guys, we're gonna start gapping these piston rings. We're gonna just reuse them, fucking send it, because they look pretty new. And I don't know if we said it before, but this whole rotating thing came off a Silverado SS with the LQ4, obviously. And the owner said it had, I think he said like 60,000 miles. So they shouldn't be over gapped to what we wanted to. The gap we're looking for is about 2.8 thousandths to 3 thousandths, around there. That's what you want for about 15 pounds of boost and more. And that's what we're looking for. So if you're going boost, I would recommend about 2.8 thousandths to 3 thousandths, nothing more, nothing less. But we're gonna check these out, make sure they're all even, and go from there. All right, guys. Now what we're gonna begin doing is testing the clearances on these rod bearings with some more plastic gauge. As you can see, we did take out the piston rings just to make it easier, and we are gonna replace those because we tested the gap on on the bottom one, on the top one of number 2, and they were already way over what the fuck we need. So we just replaced them. But we're gonna do that after we test the clearances for all these rod bearings, give them their proper homes, and then go from there.
All right, so what we're doing now is we're checking our clearances right on our bearings. The way we're doing it is we're doing it with plastic gauge and seeing we're within clearance. We just have standard size bearings. They're not undersized or oversized or nothing like that. We use those, on the phase 1 of the build. I know they did fail, but I'm not entirely sure if it was the bearings fault or not. But right now I'm just getting the rod and cap ready, so I could go ahead and drop it in, and then I'm gonna install the bearings first, but I need to make sure all this shit's cleaned. Just making sure. So as you can see on this one, there's number stamped in this one and number stamped right there, so it's gonna go like that. And then just cleaning my mating surfaces or whatever. Right, get some brake clean, making sure they're clean. So when I put the bearing in, I don't gotta worry about there being trash underneath that could potentially throw anything off. So I did that right there, and then I'm gonna get a bearing. Let me check something out real quick. Okay. I'm cleaning the bearing up now. Making sure that shit's nice and cleaned. That'll be good for now. And then I'm gonna install it. Make sure this tang is with the tang on this one right here. You put that in like that, and then you push down. Boom. you're seated. That one's good to go. And now get in the one for the cap. Cleaning this one too. Oh fuck. You guys didn't see that shit.
Oh.
Raw knock. Alright, clean that shit up good. Make sure there's no fucking debris on there. There you go, wrong one. Same thing, little groove. The groove on the cap. Boom, perfect. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab some oil and then oil up the threads just to make sure we're good on that. And then spray some WD-40 on the cylinder wall, and then I'm gonna put a little dab of oil around right here. We don't have the rings in right now. I think we'll be fine, but you know, we're not gonna be rotating the motor obviously. So well, I'll be right back once I get this shit in the board, and we'll pick up the camera again.
All right, guys. Next, what you want to do is just run these down a little bit. Don't get them to fucking torque just yet. I'll do it slowly on each side, and then right here I'm about to do these 15 foot bounds. You heard that click? Heard that click. Now on this side, running down. And then 15 foot-pounds. Oh shit. All right. Next, you take your angle measure. There's 85 degrees. Have your partner hold it for you. And then, all right guys, here's the plastic gauge after them 85 degrees. And it should be around 1.5 thou to 2 thou. You see that one's around 1.5 thou. And then over here, it's about 1.5 thou as well. So we're within spec. You want to be within 1.5 thou to 2 thou.
No, it's a different measurement. If I remember, we'll put it on the screen. But I know we're within spec. All of these were in spec, so we don't gotta worry about it.
Yeah, we're in spec.
All right, guys. So we're gonna start gapping the piston rings for boost. We already have all of them labeled, and they're all within the corresponding configuration with all their bearings and whatnot. These are the piston rings we ended up going with. I'm not sure if my brother said it or not, but yeah, these are the ones that we ended up going with. Let me see if I can open them up. This side that I opened. So yeah, they're right here. I just need to see which one's the top ring and which one's the second ring. These are all the oil rings. It shouldn't be too bad. I know it's just gonna be very time consuming, but we're gonna get right at it. We're gonna test run on one of these ones, one of the piston rings off this, and see how it likes it. This is our little setup. I know it is kind of janky, but it's what we got, and we're gonna try to figure it out. That's why we're testing it out on the old ones first before we do it on the new ones.
All right, guys. So we have our first complete ring, but right now what I'm testing out is the two oil rings, or the ones on the very bottom where the little scrunched up one is. And for these, you don't really need to test the gap, but if you want to, these have to be to a minimum of 1.5 thou or 1/15 thou, or whatever you want to say it. Let me try to show it. There it is, the top number, 0.015. And then right here, let's test it. As you can see, it goes straight through, so we're clear to move on. Now I'm gonna just test another one, and then we could put the bottom level with a oiler or whatever you want to call it on, and then we're gapping the piston, top and bottom piston rings to 0.028, and then we're going from there.
All right, guys, so it's been a while since we picked up the Camaro, but we ended up getting our rods and pistons in. All of them are in now, and this engine spins over beautifully. It's not too bad. It wasn't too hard to do to get the rings, but it was time consuming. We spent probably a total of like 2.5 hours doing it, but we got it done, so it's not too bad. The cam's in there, and then we got the timing gear and all that stuff on. We finally got the sprocket on, along with the cam gear. This is our old LS2 chain. There's some slack in it, but you know, I can live with it. I haven't torqued this down yet, so it's not permanent. But right now, I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna clean our oil pickup tube and go from there, and possibly try to finish the bottom end, but we'll see.
All right, guys, we ended up getting our oil pump on. Before it wouldn't fucking spin, and we thought we lost the little pin that goes on the side. Forgot what side. I think it's this side or some fucking where. Right here on this side. We thought we lost the pin, but we found it. But before it didn't spin, but we just fucking took out the big gear and then the little gear, threw a bunch of fucking assembly lube in there, and now it spins like a beauty. Next, what we're gonna do is find the windage tray, clean the windage tray, put it on, and then clean the oil pan, oil pickup tube, and then we're gonna put on the oil pan and fucking whatever's name.
All right, so another thing that's on the agenda is cleaning the oil pan, and then I forget what that shit's called, but I'm not sure if we ever showed you guys how fucked the oil pan was, but look, I'm pretty sure you can hear it in the video, but that's all metal shavings right here. You can see the sparkle is literally everywhere, dude. And I don't know if you guys saw the rebuild process on that one. The LQ4 that we did was clean as can be. Well, not clean, but you know, there's no reason for all this buildup to be down here, because I can feel buildup like right here, but dude, it's bad. But right now we're gonna clean all these parts right here and get going and see if we can finish the bottom end by tonight.
Alright, guys, as you can see, we got everything clean. Look at the oil pan. We got our new little plate. Gotta do it right this time. And then clean the inside, spotless. And then we clean the windage tray. Damn near spotless in the middle. We clean that. Ignore that. We cleaned this plate right here. And it looks good. So now we're just gonna slap it on the motor, and but first we gotta find the windage tray bolts. Let's see if we can find those shits, but we'll come back when we find them. All right, guys, here's another new part that we have. As you can see, we're doing our windage tray now. We fucking found the bolts, the nuts, and then we pick up tube. There's how it cleaned up. You asked me, that's pretty fucking clean. I don't see no metal. And we did buy a girdle. That's what my brother said it was called. It's like a little plate that allows you to bolt down both sides of the pickup tube. And then, so we should have fucking golden oil pressure. But we're gonna torque this down. I don't know what the torque hooks are. I'll put them on the screen when I find out. But yeah, we'll be right back.